Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Before we start our class, we offer our namaskara to Mahaganapati. The meaning of this simple shloka, which I explained before, again I will just give you the very brief meaning. Through this prarthana shloka, we offer our namaskara to Mahaganapati, who is called Vigneshwara. Vignanam Ishwaraha Vigneshwaraha is a lord of obstacles. At the same time, he is also the remover of obstacles. Vigna Harta Api. As we know that obstacles are not created by Bhagavan. They are our own karma palam which can come in our way and obstruct in completing or executing our action. Therefore, by offering our namaskara to Vigneshwara, we pray to him to clear all the obstacles, possible obstacles, which may come in our pursuit of the study of Sanskritam. Therefore, we start our class with this prayer, and some more prayers are there. We will be saying one by one. Vakratunda, Hey Vakratunda. It is addressing the Lord, who has got tunda. Tunda means the trunk, and the trunk is bent. So the one who has a curved trunk, Vakratunda. Mahakaya, Maha means huge. Kaya meaning Shariram, Deha. The one who has a huge body, He Mahakaya. Surya Koti Samaprabha, or Koti Surya Samaprabha. Anyway, you can read that because there is another reading, Koti Surya Samaprabha. Koti Surya is 10 million suns. Prabha means shine, effulgence. So the one who has the shine, Sama, equivalent to 10 million suns, is the Lord Mahaganapati, He Koti Surya Samaprabha. It is Sambodhana, addressing the Lord, praising the Lord, who has the effulgence of 10 million suns. His splendor is glorified. Then in the second line, Deva also Sambodhana, addressing, O Lord. May is my, Mama Sarvakaryeshu, in all my undertakings. Mama Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Nirvignam Kuru. O Lord, please make all my undertakings obstacles free. This is the simple meaning of this shloka. Then the next shloka, Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambam Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatame Sada. This is also another simple shloka. This shloka, it is said it was composed by Agastya Muni. Through this shloka, we offer our namaskara to the goddess of knowledge, Saraswati. Hey Saraswati, Sambodhana, addressing the goddess. Hey Saraswati, Tubhyam Namaha, namaskara to you. Varade. Varade also Sambodhana. Hey Varade. Vara means boon. And they means it is Da. Da means the giver. The giver of boons. So Saraswati, she is the giver of boons. So therefore addressing Saraswati. Hey Varade. Kama Rupini. Kama meaning pleasant. Rupa is form. The one with a pleasant form. This is also Sambodhana. The one with a pleasant form. Then second line, Aham Vidyarambam Karishyami. I am going to start this study. Aham Vidyarambam Karishyami. And that too very specifically, Sanskritam we are going to study. So obstacles can come, and that too the class is 5:30 in the morning. So you have to get up, log in. A lot of things are there. Internet should be there. And no obstacles around. A lot of obstacles are there created by ourselves. So therefore we pray to Ganapati in the beginning, and we need the knowledge. We need what we learn, what we are going to learn. For that, we need certain Shakti to grasp, to understand, to assimilate. For that, we need the grace of Saraswati also. Therefore, we give our request. Agam Vidyanambam Karishyami. I am going to start the study. Therefore, Sada me Siddhihi Bhavatu. May I accomplish. Siddhihi means success. May I accomplish success in my study. Agam Vidyarambam Karishyami. Siddhihi Sada Bhavatu. Always. Always let there be success for me in my pursuit of study. This is the meaning. So first is Ganapati Prarthana, then Saraswati Prarthana, then Guru Prarthana. Simple shloka. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. In this shloka there is one typo is there. Next class I will correct it. Guru Vishnu, it should be Murdhanya Shakara. We'll talk about that later. Namaskara to the Guru. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I offer my Namaskara to the Guru. And who is the Guru? The Guru is Brahma. The Guru is Vishnu. The Guru is Ishvara. And Guru is Param Brahma. He is Param Brahma, Nirgunam Brahma. To that Guru, I offer my Namaskara. Latecomers are requested to switch off the mic when they join the class. While joining the class, make sure that your mic is switched off. Then, after Guru Prarthana, then this is a mantra. The first three are shlokas. This is a mantra. This is a Vedic mantra. The famous Shanti Patha. There is a difference between a shloka and a mantra. Mantras were not written. Shlokas were written by a person. There is an author. Authorship is there for a shloka, whereas for mantra, there is no authorship. Mantras were revealed by the Lord to the rishis. So therefore, this is the mantra, the famous Shanti Patha. It is generally chanted by the teacher and the student, because the prayer is for both the teacher and the student. Since it is a mantra, the mantra has got swara. Swaras are not seen in this presentation, but swaras are there. So I will chant, you can listen. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhetamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. This is a Shanti mantra. This is also the meant for making the undertaking of this study of Sanskritam obstacles free. Sahana Bhavatu. It is Sahanau Avatu. May the Lord Ishvara. May the Lord Ishvara now Avatu. Now means, now you don't see there Sahana Bhavatu. Actually it is now. Sandhi has happened. We will talk about Sandhi and all later. When we learn Sanskritam, you will be seeing that. Sahana Bhavatu means, may Ishvara now Avatu. Now means both. Who are those people both? The teacher and the student. May the Lord protect both the teacher and the student. That is why this mantra is chanted by both the disciple and the guru. Sahanau Bhunaktu. Bhunaktu means nourish. Bhuj, nourish. May Ishvara nourish both of us. What nourishment? Is it a physical nourishment? We are going to study. We are going to gain knowledge. Therefore, nourishment in terms of jnanam, knowledge. Whatever knowledge it is, whether it is Samskrita knowledge, or it is Vedanta knowledge, or it is Vedic chanting knowledge, whatever may be the knowledge. Nourish, grow in knowledge, grow in clarity. That is a nourishment. May Ishvara nourish both of us. May Ishvara protect both of us. Protection, physical protection. Now here, this protection by making us understand the knowledge, what we gain through our pursuit of study. May Ishvara nourish, Bhunaktu, both of us. The nourishment of Buddhi. The nourishment of Buddhi, not Sharira. Because the pursuit is knowledge, therefore the Buddhi has to be nourished. That is why the prayer. Sahanau Bhunaktu iti. Sahaviryam Karavavahai. Saha Viryam Karavavahai. May both of us work together. The teacher and the student, both. The teacher should be endowed with the ability, the capacity to communicate. And the student must be endowed with the power of grasping, understanding. One is the giver, other one is the receiver. So therefore, both have to work together for the effective transfer of knowledge. That is why this prayer. Sahaviryam Karavavahai iti. Tejasvinavadhetamastu. Tejasvinau. May both of us understand what we study. Let the teacher know what he teaches, and let the student understand what the teacher teaches. So Tejasvino Bhavatu. May we become knowledgeable. The teacher also gains knowledge while teaching, and the students also gains knowledge, both. How the teacher also gains knowledge? Because jnana danena jnana vardhanam bhavati. Knowledge increases by giving knowledge. The best way of learning is teaching. The teacher also gains, the student also gains. And therefore, Tejasvinav, let us become brilliant, brilliant by studying. So Tejasvinav Aditam Mavid Vishavahe. Important. Let us not hate each other, the teacher and the student. Let them not have hatred, dislike. Because this is communication, the teaching is communication, there could be communication problem. So therefore, we pray to the Lord, let there be total understanding between the teacher and the student so that the knowledge transfer takes place properly as intended. That is the meaning. Therefore, it is important prayer. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. The Shanti is for three Shanti. Three Shanti for three Tapa Nivrityartam. Three types of obstacles, therefore three Shanti. As I said before, the obstacles could be ourselves, we could be our obstacles. Adhyatmika Pratibandha. The word for obstacle is Pratibandha. So we could be our own obstacle. Own obstacle, it means physically also, physically, mentally. Physically, if I'm not well, I won't be able to attend the class or conduct the class. So physical obstacle. Even if I attend the class, if mind is not there, carried over by some other thought, distraction, that is also possible. Therefore, that is one obstacle. So that is Adhyatmika Pratibandha. Adhyatmika Pratibandha Nivrityartam Shantihi. Pratama Shantihi. The first Shanti is for the removal of the first obstacle, which is Adhyatmika, self-created obstacle. The second Shanti is for Adi Bhautika, the obstacles created by the ambience. By the ambience. If people around you, in the place, your house, if they talk, then you won't be able to listen. Or if there is any public talk or mic, then also the sound will be more and you won't be able to listen. Or even if dark, even if the dog barks, then also that sound also is an obstacle. Any type of obstacle which are created by the ambience, the surroundings, possible. To ward off that, another Shanti. Then the third Shanti is for Adi Devika Shanti. That is the obstacles over which we have no control. The natural calamities. So if it is rain or thunder, so over which we don't have any control. So that is another type of obstacle. Therefore, one more Shanti. Three types of obstacles, therefore, three Shanti. So these are the prayers which we will be chanting before every class. I will chant. You can keep your mic in mute and then chant. And please keep the video also switched off, all the class. And I will switch off my video also. You will see only the screen. And I request you to use headphone so that the external noise will not disturb the class. And request you to be focused only in the class. And you can have a notepad and a pen so you can take notes. I will send you the material also later. And if you have any doubts, you can unmute your mic and ask me also. If the doubt is not clarified, you can just keep a note of the doubt. You will see it getting clear over a period of time also. So we will start the class now, and we are going to learn Devanagari script. Before getting into the Devanagari script, that is the letters of the language, we will have a general introduction to the language. Sanskritam, it is Sanskritam. Please note, it is not Samaskritam. It is not Sanskrit. It is Sanskritam. Samskrtam. Sanskritam is, according to the international standard, Sanskritam, using the diacritical marks, it is written like this only, Sanskritam. This is the right way. Sanskrit is the anglicized word. So we avoid using the word Sanskrit. Maybe in the beginning I may use till you get familiar with the word Sanskritam. Later we have to drop the word Sanskrit. It is Sanskritam, not Samaskritam, not Sanskrit also. It is Sanskritam. We'll be seeing why it is called Sanskritam. Samyak Kritam iti Sanskritam. So Sanskritam is one of the old and the classical language spoken by the people of Bharatavarsha. It is Bharatavarsha. India is a new name. The name was Bharata. So it was in native language of the Vedic times, spoken by the people. And it is said that this language used in the Vedas was prevalent in the form of different dialects. It was different from the present Sanskritam to some extent. That is why it is called Vedic Sanskritam. And each Veda and the section of the Veda also had its own book of grammar. It's called Pratishakya. So therefore, Samskrita Bhasha, it must have evolved prior to Vedas, because Vedas uses the Sanskritam. Therefore, it must have before Vedas. And once upon a time, it was a spoken language. Our ancestors were speaking in Sanskritam. So therefore, it was a spoken language. Even though now, because of the gap over a period of time, we have lost connection with the language and the culture, but now the language is started reviving now. People have understood the greatness of this language, because the language, it throws a deep insight into our culture, the tradition. So therefore there is more interest to learn the language, and that too for learning the Shastram, Vedanta. For Vedanta, since Vedanta it is in Sanskritam, therefore people, they show interest to learn Sanskritam. And you will be seeing how Sanskritam, it opens up your mind and make you think, makes you a thinking person. That is how the language is. The language makes you use your buddhi. And when we study grammar, you will be seeing how beautiful the grammar is. Amazing grammar. Very interesting. And it makes the mind very sharp. And the language is, by nature, it is sattvic. Every language is sattvic, but Sanskritam you will find it is more sattvic. Every language has its own beauty, but this language, this Deva Bhasha, you will find it refines your thinking pattern. It refines the the way you think, making your buddhi very alert. And the language itself, Sanskritam, when we say it's a refined, how the language, why it is refined. The grammar is so beautifully defined, and you will see every word has its etymology derived from the basic root. It opens up. Once you see a word, you can go to the etymology and see what it means. A word is connected to its root, and therefore the word will have meaning connected to the root. So, therefore, it will throw a deep insight into the, the root, and the meaning, arthasparanam also will happen, connected to the root. And unlike other language, like English, Sanskritam is easy to read. English is, really speaking, not that much easy to read because you write in different way and you read it in a different way. The reading and writing doesn't match. The sound of the individual word of the English and the sound of the word, the sound of the letters, the sound of the individual letters of the language of English and the sound of the word, which is nothing but the collection of letters, they are different. And some letters are silent also. So for a new learner, for a non-native person, English is a problem. That is why we have different types of English. People in Tamil Nadu, they will speak Tanglish. In Bengal, they will speak Bonglish. In Hindi, people will speak English. So they have their own mother tongue, shade will be there in their English. But Sanskritam, whether you speak or I speak or anybody speak in the world, it will be same. Because as it is written, so it is pronounced. The sum total of the pronunciation of the individual letters is the pronunciation of the word. So there is no difference. That's why I said it is easier to read. Now, this Sanskritam belongs to a group of languages called PIE, Proto-Indo-European languages. This is a model. This is a model. This is a theory which was created during the 19th century. According to this theory, by comparing the most ancient languages like Greek, Latin, and other languages, the parent language can be reconstructed. That is a theory. That is, the parent language can be traced from the languages which have descended from it. From the child language, that is the language which has come from the parent language, from that you can trace back the parent language because parent language is lost. Now what we have only is the offshoot of the parent language. So through that, the reconstruction of the parent language is possible. And that model is called Proto-Indo-European model, called as PIE. And Latin, Greek, other languages, they are considered to be the part of this PIE. Sanskritam also included. And therefore, PIE, meaning the parent language, Proto-Indo-European model, the model by which the parent language can be traced, referring to the parent language, PIE. Therefore, PIE is said to have been a spoken language during the period from 4500 BC to 2500 BC. So, therefore, the languages belonging to PIE, they were spoken language once upon a time. And the linguistic reconstruction of PIE, it provides great insight into the culture, and the religion, the tradition of the native speakers of the language. So therefore, when the when this therefore this PIE is considered to be the common ancestor of many of the Indo-European languages. As I said before, the parent language can be traced back from the language which were descended from it. And the reconstruction of this parent language is called PIE, Proto-Indo-European Model. Understanding PIE, it gives great insight about the language and the people who spoke those languages. Over a period of time, when the native speakers of the language, they become isolated due to migrations and other reasons, slowly it get diverged into the other ancient and modern Indo-European languages. And you will see the widely spoken offspring of PIE. They are Spanish, English, Persian, French, Portuguese, Italian, and many Indian languages, Hindi, Urdu, Marathi, Bengali. So these are the main offspring language of PIE. And it shows that Sanskritam is the mother of many Indian and European languages. From Sanskritam, many of the Indian as well as European languages have descended. So that insight is possible through this model, PIE model. And William Jones, a great British philologist, who was already very familiar with Greek and Latin, and when he learned Sanskritam, he said Sanskritam is more perfect than Greek, more copious than Latin, and more refined than either. So he has understood the greatness of Sanskritam. Unless you have the knowledge of other language, you won't be able to appreciate. So the language which were existing parallelly and the language which are known to people, only those people can understand the greatness of Sanskritam. And therefore, Sanskritam, since it is one of the language in PIE model, from that we can infer many languages were derived from Sanskritam. Many languages, even though the accent and all became different over a period of time because of the culture, because of the isolation, the migration, but all have the roots in Sanskritam. That is why it is a mother of not only Indian languages, all the languages. There may be some other languages which were existing parallelly to Sanskritam, possible. But most of the languages, you will see, they are derived from Sanskritam. In all our native languages, you will be knowing many words are Sanskrita words. They have the roots in Sanskritam. Therefore, Sanskritam is not a new thing for us. It is already known. Now we are trying to learn more. And we use the word Sanskrit. As I told before, instead of using the word Sanskrit, we can use the word Sanskritam. It is a better word. There is nothing wrong with the word Sanskrit, but still, since it is an English word, so the correct word must be Sanskritam. And Sanskritam is the transliterated word according to the international standard. International Alphabet of Sanskrit transliteration, IAST, it is called. According to that, the word, it is written Sanskritam with the diacritical marks. Diacritical marks means the English alphabets will have some marking, like a dot or a stroke at the top. They are called diacritical marks. You will find text like Gita and all with transliteration. Translation is different. Transliteration is different. Translation is the meaning of the text. It's called translation. Those who cannot read Devanagari, for them, it is given in English, transliteration. The shlokas are given in English or any other language. Sanskritam, even though it is written in Devanagari, but you will see that it is written in all the languages. You will find the script, say for example, the Gita. In Tamil you will find. In Hindi also it will be there. In all other languages, Malayalam, Kannada, same Gita is there in their own language. That is called transliteration. That is called transliteration. For English, we have an international standard, International Alphabet of Sanskrit Transliteration. There is an ISO 15919, International. Hello? Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Yes, in between there was power off. It will come again. It will come immediately. UPS is up, but still power. When the power goes off, then I may get disconnected and then I will join immediately. So don't worry. As I told before, we are living in the mid forest. So power cut will be there frequently. And we have generator set, so it will start immediately within 6 seconds. In between, there will be some disturbance. You have to bear with that. Okay. So the International Alphabet of Sanskrit Transliteration. According to that, we are writing this. And there is an international standard, ISO 15919. That is the transliteration of Devanagari and related Indic scripts into Latin characters. Like we have ISO for ISO 2000, 2001 and all. Similarly, for the language, we have got this ISO 15919. So they recommend the diacritical marks to map the consonant and the vowels in the Brahmi script to Latin script. Brahmi script is older than Devanagari script. So, and Sanskritam uses Devanagari script. Can you hear me?
SG.
Okay.
SG.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, in between again power went off. So Sanskritam uses Devanagari script to represent the sound in the form of the vowels and consonants and their combinations. And that is presented by this international standard in the form of this transliteration. Transliteration uses this diacritical marks. The sound of the language of the Sanskritam, it is mapped into it is mapped with the English letters with particular the marks. That's called diacritical marks. That is according to this standard, ISO 15919. Already you have seen this transliteration in the prayer. In the prayer, Prarthana Shloka, we saw these Sanskrita shloka was there, and below that, the transliteration also you saw. Literation, transliterated version of the shloka. In the beginning, if you don't know Sanskritam, we have to take the help of transliteration. Later, when we study Devanagari, we can drop the transliteration. Okay. Then, the importance of the Sanskritam. Sanskritam, you need to know this, Devanagari script is not Sanskritam. Devanagari script is a script. Like Hindi, the letters of the language Hindi, it's a script. It is not only used by Hindi language, used by other languages also. In fact, Hindi, it uses the Devanagari script. Hindi uses Devanagari script. Sanskritam also uses Devanagari script. Other languages also uses Devanagari script. That is why the letters of Hindi and Sanskritam, you will see they are same, but there is a difference. There are differences. Even though the letters are same, and pronunciation also you will find it is same, but there are differences. So script is different, the language is different. Sanskritam uses Devanagari script. Script is the letter which represents a sound. The sound is captured or sound is presented in the form of the script, the letters. So, therefore, the letter represents the sound and the sound of what? Vowels, consonants, and the combinations. That is what we are going to see. A language is nothing but these three vowels, consonants, and the combination of these three. They are the sounds, and the sound is captured in this script, Devanagari script. And Sanskritam uses the Devanagari script. So Sanskritam, when it was a spoken language, that time it did not use Devanagari script. But later, when writing came into existence, in the beginning there was no writing, only speaking. Communication was only through speech. So therefore, Sanskritam did not use Devanagari script. But later, when writing was invented, then it started using Devanagari script. When did it start using, we don't know. All these are beyond our knowledge of time. Time we cannot say, this particular time we cannot say. That is any Indian history, if you take, we cannot precisely say what time. Scholars will say some time, will predict. It is only a prediction. It is only an assumption, but we cannot say it for sure. Any time. They say the birth of Shankaracharya is 788 to 820. That is the view of the scholar regarding the time period of Shankara Bhagavad-pada. But exact time we don't know. They differ. Some will say 5,000 years before. So all these are subject to debate. So therefore, the exact time is not known. When it comes to Indian history, Indian literature, Indian authors, ancient Indian authors, there is no time at all. And when we talk about the language, the time is totally ruled out. There is no time. We cannot talk about the time. When Sanskritam started using Devanagari script, we cannot say. And Vedas were transmitted orally. Never it was written. So but now what idea we have is Vedas are books and it is in Sanskritam. No, Vedas are not books, really. It is not like any other holy book of the other religions. It is not a book at all. It is knowledge. It is knowledge. And it was never written. We're all transmitted orally from the mouth of the teacher and to the disciple. You can just imagine the whole Vedas which were in the memory of the Guru, and he transmits to the disciple, and the disciple observes as it is, as it was conveyed by the teacher. No alteration, no no change of the sound of the Veda, as it is, as it was taught, so it was grasped by the student, and the student became a guru, and he transferred to his disciple. That is how the whole parampara is, sampradaya is. So were never written. So when writing came into existence, Sanskritam started using Devanagari script, and Vedas were later written or published in the form of books and other things. Now we have soft copies also. So that is how it is. Because we see a text in Devanagari script, so we cannot say Sanskritam, Devanagari is Sanskritam. Sanskritam uses Devanagari script. Now this Deva Bhasha, Sanskritam, it is a living language. If anybody says it's a dead language, we should discard the person also, the idea as well as the person, because Vedas has its roots in Sanskritam has its roots in Veda. Vedas cannot be destroyed because they are the prana of Ishvara. Vedas are not subject to destruction. Vedas have got pravaha nityatvam. Whenever the Srishti come into existence, along with the Srishti, Vedas also come. Vedas are like the Shvasa, the breath of Ishvara. So it is one with Ishvara. When the Ishvara creates a Srishti, along with the Srishti, Veda also come. Therefore, Vedas doesn't have destruction. And therefore, Sanskritam also cannot be destroyed. They are not destructible. So therefore, it is not a Mrita Bhasha. It is always a living language. That is why the letters of the language are also called Aksharam. Aksharam means that which cannot be destroyed. The sound are naturally available. The sound of the letters of the language are naturally available in the Srishti. That cannot be destroyed. The Srishti may go back into unmanifestation and come back into manifestation. That is called Pralaya. Pralaya is the Srishti goes back into unmanifestation stage. And again it comes back to manifestation. That is called again Srishti. Srishti, Sthiti, Laya. Srishti, Sthiti, Laya. This is a cycle. But never get destroyed. Therefore, the sound which is available naturally in the Srishti, in the creation, they are captured by the language, and therefore the letters of the language are called Aksharam. Aksharam means that which cannot be destroyed. And therefore, since Vedas are not destructible, and Sanskritam which has roots in Veda, therefore Sanskritam also is not destructible. It cannot be destroyed. And the language is still alive, that you can very well see. It is because it is being taught and studied in the schools and colleges, and it is the second official language of Jharkhand. So the language is a living language. Another reason to say that the living language is the language, our native language, you will see a lot of Samskrita shade on it. A lot of Samskrita words are used in our native language. All the languages, Indian languages, as I said before, they are the offspring of the parent language, Sanskritam. Therefore, there is no question of Sanskritam being absent or not available or gone away from being a spoken language, or it's dead. We cannot say it is ever existent language. As long as we have a native language, we speak our native language, so long Sanskritam also will be there. So therefore only Sanskritam is being studied and taught in schools and colleges. And if you want to study our text, Vedanta text, Upanishad, Gita, Brahma Sutra, and all, the knowledge of Sanskritam is very important. Without Sanskritam, one cannot really study and appreciate the greatness of Upanishad, Gita. Even though the translations are available, but the translations will not help to understand what it says, what the text conveys. You can't really appreciate. The real appreciation comes only when you know the language. And that too, the translations, whatever it's available now, they're not good translation. Because those who translate, they translate without knowing the language. Without knowing the language, you just translate. Knowing the language and knowing the tatparya of the Shastram, then only the translation is possible. Translation cannot be literal. It should be in keeping with the meaning of the text, meaning of the shloka. Exact translation will not help. Exact translation is not possible and also will not help to understand the tatparya, the essence of the text, the shlokas of the text. So therefore, we need to have understanding of the language as well as the understanding of the tatparya of the text, this grantha. Then only translation should be done. But how many people will do translation like that? So even though you have Gita, Upanishads and all in English, other languages, but study of them in that language has got certain limitations. You will really appreciate Gita only when you study Sanskritam. The language opens up your vision and you can clearly see through the text, the shlokas of the text, and appreciate what Bhagavan Krishna says. So therefore, the knowledge of the language is very important. Therefore, you will be totally handicapped if you don't know Sanskritam. As I said before, any help of translated study, that will not help us to understand and appreciate the Shastram. Therefore, the knowledge of Sanskritam is important. And Sanskritam is one of the oldest language of the world. Therefore, it is called the mother of all the languages. And many of the modern languages, they are considered to be the child of Sanskritam, that is represented by the model PIE. Therefore, only you can see the many words of the existing language, they have their origin to Sanskritam. You can trace back to Sanskritam. I will show some few words here. Sanskrita words and the equivalent English words. There are many more words. Many words are there. I'm just giving you a few words. You can see here. The word gau in Sanskritam, it is called cow in English. You can see the similarity in the pronunciation. Gau becomes cow. The language spoken by the British, gau, certain accent is there. Certain accent is there in the word, the pronunciation of the word gau. But in the language English, that accent, particular accent is not there. Therefore, according to the accent they pronounce, and it becomes cow. So gau becomes cow. Similarly, the word sarpa becomes snake or serpent. Sarpa is serpent, not snake, it is serpent. Danta is teeth, it becomes dental. you can see the similarity of the pronunciation and the meaning also, meaning as well as the similarity in pronunciation. Pancha becomes 5. Tat becomes that. Tat tvam asi. You are that. Mahavakya. So tat, that. Sama, the word sama we saw. Koti surya, samaprabha. Sama is same or similar or equivalent. Similar. Sama, similar. And sapta. Sapta is 7. In English, it is 7. Sapta. From sapta, it has become 7. Ashta, 8. Ashta means 8. And the word for 8 is, in English, it is pronounced as 8. So, 8, the word, as it can be traced to the Sanskrit word Ashta. Similarly, the 9 can be traced to the Sanskrit word Nava. And juvenile becomes Yauvana. Yauvana becomes juvenile, not the other way. The word juvenile can be traced back to the word Yauvana. There are many more words. Few words are shown here to appreciate the roots, the Sanskritam as the roots of the language. The roots of the language lie in Sanskritam. Okay. Now we are going to get into the Devanagari script. Before that, let us understand few words. This Sanskrita syllables, they are called Varnamala. They are called Varnamala. All these vowels and consonants, they are collectively called Varnamala. English, we have the name alphabets. Alphabets means A, B, C, D and all. Similarly, in Sanskritam, we have the name Varnamala. Other names are also there, Aksharamala iti. So Varnamala, we will call it as Varnamala. Varnamala has got two words, Mala and Varna. Mala means garland. Varna meaning letter. So the garland of letters, that is the meaning of the word Varnamala. That is the letters of the language or the garland for the language. Therefore, Varnamala, the garland of letters. And the word Varna, meaning letter, it has its vyutpatti, etymology, Varnyate preryate iti varnaha. That is, that which is impelled from the vocal organ is called Varna. So Varna can mean sound. Varna can also mean letter. The sound is captured in the form of letter. So, and the sound is that which are impelled in the vocal organs. Therefore, it is called Varna. Varna and Mala. Mala meaning garland. So, therefore, Varnamala means represents all the letters. The letters of the language is called Varna Mala. And already we have seen the word Aksharam. Aksharam is that which cannot be destroyed. And the sound cannot be destroyed. Therefore, Varnamala can also be called Aksharamala. The letters are also called Aksharam. That is why we say when a child for the first time studies the script, we say Akshara Abhyasa. Akshara Abhyasa. Akshara is letters. So Akshara, na ksharati iti aksharam, that which cannot be destroyed is called Aksharam. The sound cannot be destroyed. So therefore, Varnamala can also be called as Aksharamala, the garland of letters. Varna, as I said before, which is impelled from the vocal organ. We'll talk about vocal organ in detail, how different sounds are produced from our vocal organs. Our vocal organ is different from the vocal organ of animals. That is why different sounds are possible. And varna can also mean that which delineates or describes very precisely. Another meaning of the word varna. And Devanagari is a name. Devanagari is the name of the script, Sanskrita script. It is a name. Sanskritam uses Devanagari script, and the letters are called Varnamala, otherwise called Aksharamala. Aksharam meaning that which cannot be destroyed. Aksharamala. So Varnamala or Aksharamala. We can use any of them to represent the letters of the language. And now, first we will get into the Devanagari script, beginning with the vowels. Vowels and the consonants. There are 13 vowels in Sanskritam. The number may differ. Some people have different number, but for us, we can take it as 13. 13 vowels in Sanskritam. And vowels are called Swaraha or Swaravarnaha. Swaraha or Swaravarnaha, or you can call it as Achaha, a short term to represent vowels. Achaha. Why it is called Achaha, we will see later. So Swaraha. Swaraha, beautiful word. Swayam Rajate. It is Swaraha. They shine on their own, independently. That is why it is called Swaraha. And there are 13 Swaras. 13 vowels. And these vowels are classified into simple and conjunct. Simple vowels and conjunct vowels. What are they? What are simple vowels and what are conjunct vowels? Those details we will see in the next class. So we stop here. Next class we will continue from where we stopped. We start from the vowels, introduction to the Devanagari script and vowels. Within Devanagari script, we will start from vowels. So we stop here. As I said, it is 1 hour. So I think I have exceeded just 5 minutes. 5 minutes more, because some students said they cannot spend more time, exactly 1 hour, because after that their work starts. So I have to be on time, complete on time. So I stop here 6:30. If I exceed the time, you please let me know. I will stop. So we'll stop the class today and we will continue. We'll continue the next class from where we left. At the end of every class, we will chant another Shanti Pata, which is Purnamadaha. Purnamada Shanti Pata. Next class, we can show you the script. Om Purnamadah Purnamidham Purnat Purnamadachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Dhanyavadaha. If you have any doubts, you can ask.
Maharaj, can I ask a doubt now?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Namaste, Maharaj.